Peace, family. Vie Darling, the cosmic communicator, intergalactic interpreter, here with a channeled message from the deity 𝗂𝗵𝗍𝗁. I'm out at the park right now, and I am receiving word that we should all be making more of an effort to get into nature right now. I'm seeing the imagery of the snakes and thinking about the Kundalini and Kundalini activation, and actually I'm recognizing now that that is something that like we have been experiencing for a while now. This period of people being like exhausted, whether you call it ascension or spiritual warfare, what have you. That's what we've been experiencing. This is the Kundalini awakening. And there's definitely been energies, entities, and expressions of existence that have been trying to stop that from happening. And there's definitely been a lot of clarification going on. So when you think about like purging, what is purging? The spirit, your aura, your like light body. It's really your light body, I would say. And in your light body, everything, all of your codes are in your DNA. Obviously, all of your codes are in your bone marrow. So it's in your bones. I'm thinking about blood and plasma, and how plasma, as we've been channeling Diamond Sun plasma, when we go through these shifts, and we've been going through these shifts in part because we've been in the active period of the sun, and it's been like blasting codes to clear out the, I want to say, baneful DNA, to cast out the baneful DNA that was created purposefully from generations of trauma. And this activation that is happening, there are a lot of people who the activation is just like, it is triggering like this Jezebel entity and like friction and conflict between, I want to say, wickedness. It's not destruction, it's like anti-progress. But it's worse than like, going backwards, degradation, like a decaying. Going, it's not death, because like I'm thinking like it's like an unsacred death, right? It's just a death. I don't know how else to put it other than the Jezebel. Okay, like this vampiric energy, parasitic. Yeah, so it is like a battle between the parasite and life itself. And in the past couple of years, since the October 7th 𝗪𝗪𝗃, that I have seen everything going on there being as like a fight for the planet of the soul, or the soul of the planet. It's interesting that I said planet of the soul, but what I meant is soul of the planet. And there are a lot of distractions going on right now, and something that I channeled yesterday is that while the current events are current eventing, and they are actually happening, like these things are actually happening, like they are being used also as spectacles. And so it's like, oh, was it all just for show? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I did make those TikToks about like the Diddy case being the perfect distraction, because like it is such a real problem that is like that was being engaged with that case. And it feels wrong, and one could argue, and I have argued, that it would be wrong to turn away from what is going on and to act like it's not like worth engaging with, because it is. But at the same time, like the fact that he didn't get like a hefty sentence, or like, yeah, a hefty sentence for the things that he's done, because the legal system in this country is fraught. Um, he was, let off with essentially a slap on the fucking wrist. And it's highly unlikely that he's going to see any real consequences for what he has done. And a lot of the things that he did, he didn't get held accountable for. And so, yeah, like while all of that's happening, like it's taking up a lot of space in like people's memory, and it's like triggering people into like what Mark Fisher refers to as reflexive impotence, or it's like, oh well, there's nothing that I can do, I may as well just like basically like lay down and DIE. I don't know if I'm gonna upload this on TikTok, but so if I do, then I don't want it to get like flagged or whatever. But all that to say, yeah, like that really happened, and that was something that had to happen, and that was a question that I had throughout that entire case. Is like, I do feel like this is like representative of like spiritual court and like judgment being passed, etc., etc. But um the fact that he didn't actually like get held accountable to the degree that he should have for crimes we know he committed, because it's like, okay, he got off of a bunch of stuff that like, but we know he did it. Anybody in their right mind knows he did it, right? And so it's like, okay, what's the court of public opinion really going to do? Because the court of public opinion is like deeply fraught, you know what I mean? Like the court of public opinion is like, people are indoctrinated right into like colonial ideologies, and minds are warped by trauma. So what is the court of public opinion really going to do? It could show that there's been a changing of the tides to a like to a more like that we've hit the tipping point where people are no longer able to be complacent and complicit in corruption and um, depravity and demoralization. That is certainly a possibility, but if I'm I'm hoping that that's what happens. Let's just leave it at that. But so, you know, moving on from there, um, yeah, so it feels like it's been made this like massive media circus, because um, it is being used as spectacle. And we know, like, I always forget the name of this book, but Daniel J. Boorstin's The Image. I think it's called A History of Pseudo Events or something like that. Pseudo Events in America, but it's called The Image by Daniel J. Boorstin. And this book explains a lot about how pseudo events and images are used to create spectacle to, one, yes, indoctrinate always, but also to obfuscate. And this is why I refer to, when you think about Hollywood, it's not, you don't even really need like actual magic to do those kinds of things. Like, it's literally just a sleight of hand. If you're too busy looking at like what this hand is doing, you're not paying attention to what this hand is doing. And it's like, it's not some innocuous like, oh, magic trick at a magic show. It's a like sleight of hand, like a pickpocket. So this is really important to think about, because like anything that is real is made unreal. And the word that comes up for me is like derealization. And I do think that like this is a term that's pretty relatively new in my personal lexicon, but I think that like people who experience this derealization, and I do think that it's happening more and more. It is a phenomenon that I do think people are experiencing more and more, people are associating more and more. And I do think that this is largely in part due to the sheer surfeit and like oversaturation of images and of content and media. And this is, what is the word? This is not only disorienting, but yeah, it derealizes people. Like, people are derealized because they don't know what to believe. They don't know what's real and what's not real. And this is also a particularly American phenomenon. This is not like, this is something that's happening in all of the Euro like colonial matrix, but in particular, this is something that's happening in the United States of America, because the media industry is more powerful than anywhere else. It is the center of the Euro-colonial matrix media like machine as an institution, because American media dominates, not because it's better, but because it is, I would say, most powerful in its endeavor. And that mission is to put people under an illusion, to manipulate the mind, to trick people into believing things that are not necessarily true. And when you live like this, and it's not just entertainment media, it's also the news, it's also so much so that there's like entertainment news, like, you know what I mean? It's also educational media. When you live in a society where this is your experience constantly, this is what happens. There is a loss of integrity. There is a loss of structure. There's a loss of stability and their insanity. There's no way to be a sane person if you don't have integrity, if you don't have one truth to fix yourself to. And this is why so many people in America, in particular, this is a factual phenomenon, the sheer amount of cults that exist in the United States of America. And it's a growing number, rapidly increasing, especially on the internet, on social media. Why? Because if sociopathy, beyond sociopathy, you have to be a psychopath to do the things that the founding fathers did. And it wasn't just the founding fathers, it's every everybody who was complicit and complacent, everybody who helped to found this country over the course of over 100 years, and everybody who has taken up that mantle to further entrench that power. These people are psychopaths. It is beyond sociopathy. To be willing to enslave another person makes you a psychopath. I mean, some might say sociopath, but then when we think about the fact that they skinned these people, that they deemed lesser than them, you use all of your mental acumen to create a false system of racism in order to further entrench and indoctrinate people into the idea of chattel slavery, which they did not agree with initially. And then you're skinning people alive and like making it into furniture. You're forcing people to copulate with their family members. You are taking their teeth and using them as your teeth. That is psychotic. There's no word for how depraved and disgusting that is. So when that is the underlying foundation, energetically, spiritually, biomolecularly, on a biomolecular level, if that is the underlying foundation of a society, it's not a civilization, because that's not what civilized people do. That's what barbarians do. That's beyond what savages do. Like, as I said, I can't think of any word that could describe such abhorrence. All the same, then every single thing that manifests within that system is going to be inseminated and coded with that level of sickness. I'm going to take a pause and check the time. Okay, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. I do think that this is the majority of the message, but all of this is to say, everything about this society is encoded with that. So it's not like it's the best, it's just the most depraved. There's no way else to say it. And what I would also say is, like, what has been going on this Kundalini awakening, the light codes have been coming in and blasting all of that stuff out in the ethers. If you see it, it's very obviously, undeniably happening. It's literally happening on the sun, and you can see it happening. And so in this active period, it has been like transmitting these light codes and blasting out the fraught DNA, I guess you can say, then the fragmentation codes and the warped DNA. It's blasting all of that out for the collective to be able to heal fully and effectively from all of the torture that has happened in the past 2,000 years. And obviously it hasn't only happened in America. If we look at literally anywhere else that the Eurocolonial powers colonized, they did the same shit everywhere they went. And, that's just what they're gonna do. So I guess with very little more time for this message left, I'm just going to ask for final notes. This is why it's important to cleanse, and this is why it's important to cleanse and just ground yourself as much as possible. And know that everything is going to be all right as long as you are grounded in integrity, and that is Christ consciousness, and that is unconditional love and unconditional truth.